Hello everyone, welcome back to a brand new video. This time it's not going to be a movie collection spotlight, it's actually going to be a Blu-ray review. And today the Blu-ray that we're going to be looking at is the Ida Lupino Filmmaker Collection that is put out by Kino Lorber Studio, or specifically Kino Lorber Studio Classics. Over the last couple of years, I've become kind of a big fan of Ida Lupino. I had heard about Ida Lupino, but I hadn't really delved into her work until most recently. And the reason why I started delving into her work is because I've read about her in this book that I actually did a review for a few years ago, and that is Backwards and in Heels by Alicia Malone. I did a review a few years ago on this, and what is amazing about this book is that you learn so much about several different women who have had great impacts in film history throughout the 20th century and into the 21st century, but she just gives you enough to get you interested to the point where you want to go out and seek out all of these individuals for yourself. And Ida Lupino was one of them. So when Kino put this out last year, this was something I wanted for Christmas. So I got this in Christmas of 2019, kind of a gift to myself. But before we get into the box set, let me go over a little bit about Ida Lupino herself. Ida Lupino was an actress, producer, director, whose work spanned all the way from the 1930s all the way to the 1970s. And unfortunately, her filmmaking career was only for a small amount of that time. She only predominantly did her films in the 1950s, but she only had 8 directorial features films to her name, 4 of which are in this box set. 2 of those are uncredited. One is Not Wanted, which is in this set, and the other one was On Dangerous Ground. Specifically, I believe she only directed for a small amount of time on that movie because the director had gotten sick and couldn't work. But on Not Wanted, she specifically hired someone to direct the film because she didn't feel as if she was ready to direct the film, and the person unfortunately had a heart attack, so she was kind of forced into that role. But technically she has 42 credits of directing according to IMDb, and you may be wondering, where did all those credits come from if not for feature films? Well, she had a very long and very active career in directing television as well as starring in a lot of television later on in her career, so that's where all of those come in. And that's really fascinating to me because the 1950s and 1960s weren't a time where women were getting a lot of opportunities when it came to behind the camera. She was really a forebearer of a lot of filmmakers who would come after her. Before her, there were other female filmmakers as well. And they, of course, had varied success because, unfortunately, Hollywood has been very male-dominated for a very long time. A lot of the women have been pushed to the background when it came to a lot of the major, production roles. But Ida Lupino was able to break through and assert herself, and what we have here is 4 of those films. So here is the front here, which of course shows Ida Lupino Filmmaker Collection here as well. On the side, same thing, same font. So here you can see on the back are about 4 still photos from each film that's contained in here, plus all of the, usual production credits. And on the side here are all of the Blu-rays plus a booklet as well, which is kind of really nice. And what is very interesting about her filmography, especially these films in general, is that she was dealing with films that were socially conscious when it came to the women of the time. And she really wanted to make these films feel as if they were a slice of life, or feel as if she was expressing their concerns and expressing their lives. So first up here is Not Wanted. As you can see here, these are just standard Blu-ray cases. As you can see here on the back, you get the usual special features list, description of the movie, and then, of course, the credits, which we already got, and, of course, technical specs down below. So, Not Wanted is a film that is dealing with the concept of unwed mothers and how, traumatic that can be for lots of women, and how kind of society kind of shuns them in a big way. So she was really, tapping into that. But when it comes to special features, we have an audio commentary by Barbara Shars, Director of Programming at Gene Siskel Film Center, with filmmaker/historian Greg Ford, and trailers. So not much in the way of special features, but let's open it up and take a look on the inside. And what you get here on the inside is just a Blu-ray disc with usual Kino Lorber Studio Classics logo. and that's pretty much what you're going to see on all of these. So I don't expect too much. But what you don't get to see when it comes to, you know, any type of packaging frills or anything like that, I think is more than made up for when it comes to the content of these films. Next up here is a film called Never Fear. Here you have the back with the special features, as well as description of the film, text specs, credits, all that kind of stuff. Same as the previous one. And this film is dealing with a young dancer who's really talented. She contracts polio, so she has to deal with that crippling physical pain and mental anguish that goes along with that. When it comes to special features, we have audio commentary by film historian Alexandra Heller-Nicholas and trailers. Here is the disc on the inside. What we have up next here is The Hitch-Hiker, which is my favorite of the films in this box set. This is a really great, solid horror film from the 1950s. I really love that red cover. And what I also failed to mention is that the first film here, which is Not Wanted, has a new 4K restoration, which looks absolutely fantastic, and Never Fear has a new 2K restoration, which also looks really, really good. And the reason why I bring that up is because The Hitchhiker has a new 2K restoration as well. And here we have the back. When it comes to special features, audio commentary by film historian Imogen Sarah Smith, and trailers. They really like to put those trailers on here. Once again, plain Kino Lorber disc. And the last film in this set is The Bigamist. This is a film that is exactly what you can imagine. It's a film about bigamy, or this idea of kind of untrustworthy relationships. I mean, someone in here is literally living two different lives with two different women. So the film is obviously dealing with trust issues or failure of trust. Here is the back. So here is a brand new 4K restoration of the film. So if you're keeping count, 2 of the films have new 2K restorations, 2 of the films have 4K restorations. Why they just didn't give all of them 4K restorations, who really knows? Perhaps it had to do with source elements, funding, stuff like that. So for special features, we have an audio commentary by film historian Kat Ellinger and trailers. And finally, you guessed it, same old disc art. So those are all of the films in the collection, but let's take a quick look at the booklet, because it is a rather thick and rather hefty booklet. As you can see here, just the plain cardboard box is left, and you get this lovely photo here on the cover of Ida Lupino in action as a director. Now the back here, just a plain black with Kino Lorber insignia down below. And what you get when it comes to regarding the contents of this booklet, I believe, are essays written by Ronnie Scheib about each film, as well as about Ida Lupino's career. And it's really, really fascinating read. As you can see here, the print is quite large, so it's not something that I think would take a very long time for someone to read. And what you get here are stills from the film, as well as, you know, the movie posters, which they kind of redid for the covers of the Blu-rays, which I think are always classy and really nice. But this is a rather thick booklet, if you can tell here, so it's definitely worth a good read. It's also definitely worth trying to pick up the rest of Ida Lupino's films. That's something I really need to do, just because there aren't that many. Like I said, there's only 8 of them, so it's not that big of a chore to get. So that has been the Ida Lupino Filmmaker Collection Blu-ray box set from Kino Lorber, and this is a really fantastic box set. If you want to get it for yourself, get it as a gift for someone who's really interested in this particular filmmaker. Also, it's very fascinating that she was kind of an auteur filmmaker in a time where women were not really allowed to express themselves in film, specifically behind the camera. I find that to be rather interesting as well. So, thank you all for watching. If you like this video, please check out the other videos on my channel, as well as subscribing.